Okay, we'll give it a second, Ramon.
Wow, amazing.
Great.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I see folks are still joining. This is, yeah, Julie. Wait for her to connect to audio. Perfect. Welcome, Julie. Welcome, everyone. This is the December 2023 meeting of the City of Somerville Commission on Energy Use and Climate Change. I say with excitement. We typically start with some introductions, so let's do a quick round and popcorn around to, I guess, the commissioners first. Then we have some staff from the Office of Sustainability and Environment who have joined us. Perhaps they could just say their names first, and then we'll do some deeper introductions later. And then love to hear from attendees as well. So I will start, I guess. My name's Larry Yu. I'm a chair of the commission. I live in the Davis Square area, and I work at the Bridgespan Group during the day. So, Courtney, how about you? And you can just pass it along to the next person.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Courtney Coslow, a newly appointed commissioner. I live in the Lagoon Square neighborhood of Ward 5 for Somerville resident for 24 years. I develop affordable housing professionally, and I'll move it on to Julie.
Hi, Julie Wood. I live in Teal Square. Just looked it up recently on the commission since 2016. And I'm a climate resilience director of climate resilience at Charles River Watershed Association. Ramon.
Hi, Ramon. Bueno, I'm in the brick bottom buildings in Ward 2. I've been on the commission for a number of years. I can't be as precise as Julie. I can't remember. And I'm not currently employed, but I work in various climate justice coalitions or groups supporting them. Who's next?
We can hand it to Christine, I believe.
Where is she?
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm off camera for the moment, but I will join on camera in a moment. I'm Christine Blaze. I'm the director of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Environment and ex officio to the Commission. And with that, I'll pass it to Elise.
Hi all, I'm Elise Belarge. I'm the sustainability planner for the city of Somerville, and I'll pass it on to Julia.
Hi everyone, Julia Damiano, Environmental Policy Manager for the Office of Sustainability and Environment, and I will pass it off to Naomi.
Hi everyone, I'm the new Community Engagement Specialist for the Office of Sustainability and the Environment. Really happy to be here and hopeful to collaborate with you all in the future. And I will pass it off to Kathy.
I think I'm the last one. I'm Kathy Cole, and I just recently joined the OSC department as a financial analyst.
Thank you.
Super, thank you. I see that Alexis has joined us as well. Alexis, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well, our newest member or acting commissioner anyway, feel free. If you're not able to come on camera, that's fine.
Hi, everyone. This is Alexis Washburn. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm still sort of in transit trying to get to my house. The bus took longer than expected, but I'm here listening and happy to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you. I know the feeling for the buses. Christine, are we okay moving through attendees and having them introduce themselves as well?
Absolutely. So I will go through alphabetically and allow each person to talk and what are we saying? Name and how long you've lived in Somerville, Larry, or how you heard and how you heard about the meeting. pronouns? Is that everything?
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. All right, Adrian, you are first.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Adrienne Agrawal. I've lived in Somerville for about a year and a half. I use she, her pronouns. I joined one of these commission meetings about a year ago, and when I first moved here, and so I was just curious to see what is being talked about today, specifically with the new climate forward plan that's been being reviewed and updated. So happy to be here today. Thanks.
Thank you. And Andrea, you are next. I think that you can unmute yourself. Oh, there you go.
Hi, yeah, I'm Andrea. My pronouns are she, her, and yeah, really excited to kind of be in this webinar. I'm really new to Somerville and all of its initiatives, so I'm happy to learn from this.
Great, thank you. And Andrew.
Hi everyone, my name's Andrew, he, him pronouns. I'm a Boston resident, but have been working with people in Somerville around climate issues for some time. So just listening in and getting a sense. Thank you.
Great, welcome. And Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm also in Boston, also interested in energy use and climate issues in Somerville. So just observing. Thanks.
Thank you. And Kathleen.
Hi, excuse me. I'm Kathleen Hornby. I moved to Somerville in 2006. I have basically been here ever since, aside from a brief jaunt in California. I use she, her pronouns, and just I'm really interested in hearing tonight's discussion.
Thank you. Great. And Lenny. You should be able to unmute yourself if you'd like.
Hi, I'm Lenny Armstrong. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm very interested in what's going on in Somerville around sustainability and energy.
Great, thank you. And Logan.
Hey everyone, my name's Logan. I use he, him pronouns. I've been a Somerville resident for about a year now, and I've lived in the area for about 4. And I'm just coming here to stay updated about, what the municipality is doing in regards to climate change. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Matthew.
Hi, my name is Matt Goldstein. I'm a Somerville resident of 14 years in Ward 4. I care about energy use and sustainability, and you can find me volunteering around town in a variety of roles, including with our vulnerable populations during extreme weather events that we are seeing more regularly. Thanks.
Thank you. Great. And Pauline.
Hey everyone, I'm Pauline. I've been in Somerville for about 2 years now. I work in renewable energy, so I'm really curious what this group's all about.
Great. And Ron.
Ron Cavallo, Ward 7. I've resided in Somerville for 21 years, although my family history goes back to 1894. I'm formerly a developer in the city of Somerville, but I will not develop in this city any further for a number of reasons. I'm also a consultant to the 4th largest solar panel producer in the world. And I build sustainable housing along with conventional housing.
Great, thank you so much. And Tom.
Hi, everyone. What a great crowd is here. I'm Tom King. I live in Ward 6 in Davis Square, been there 22 years now. And like the previous person, I volunteer with a lot of Somerville groups, including the Community Growing Center and 350 Mass. Thanks.
Great. And Vivian.
Hello, my name is Vivan Malkani.
Oh, sorry.
New to Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. I mispronounced your name. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, no worries. Yeah, Vivan Malkani, new to Somerville. Excited to hear more about what Somerville is doing with regard to climate and energy planning. I'm an energy consultant, and I've worked for a small energy consulting firm for the past 3 years, and excited to hear more and contribute.
Great. Thank you. And William. You should be able to unmute yourself if you would like. William? Okay. Well, we can keep going, Larry. That is the last one.
Yes, that's amazing. And William, if you would like to introduce yourself at any time, just raise your hand and we'll come back to you. This is so exciting. It is a big crowd indeed, Tom. So I think what we'd like to do is sort of introduce new staff members from OSC, because I'm just thrilled to see the department filling up. So maybe I'll just take turns of saying a little bit more about your role and see whether we have a couple of questions for you or not. And then I think the bulk of our discussion today will be on the Somerville Climate Forward draft plan and some quick responses on there. So who would like to go first? Perfect.
I'll go. I'm the most recent addition to the Office of Sustainability and Environment department. I joined last week. My name's Kathy Cole. I'm supporting the department as the financial analyst, financial manager. I actually come from the for-profit world. I worked in banking, many New England banks over the years, supporting their financial needs in many different departments. So I've had quite a bit of experience in the financial sector for many years. And I'm very excited to have joined the department. I'm very impressed with Somerville and what they are doing as far as sustainability and climate change and all of the different aspects that you're working towards. So I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome aboard. We're just thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Why don't we, Naomi, would you like to say hello?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Naomi Gross, as I said earlier, the community engagement specialist. I started 2 months ago, and my background is in public health and community organizing, primarily from environmental justice perspective. So that's my previous work, and I'm happy to bring it to Somerville. I'm currently primarily working on the Climate Forward update through focus groups and as well as the Climate Ambassadors program. So if you have any questions about those things, you can direct them to me as well. I am unfortunately cannot stay for this whole meeting, but if there are any lingering questions that come up, please don't hesitate to email me. Thank you.
Thank you. Julia, at least you have introduced yourself before this group in the past. Yes, I believe both of you have. Yes. Okay. So I won't force you through that embarrassment again. Just opening up any commissioners beyond saying welcome, Kathy, welcome, Naomi. Any questions about what they'll be working on?
I guess
I can imagine.
Kathy, as a financial analyst, what will your role include?
What
kind of
will my
things will
role be?
Yeah,
Well,
what will you be
as
looking at?
yeah, sure. I cannot give you a complete answer on that at the moment, as I just joined the staff last week. But certainly I will be providing any sort of analysis that's needed as far as any of the projects that we're looking at. I will be obviously supporting our budget development, recurring, any normal aspects such as making sure invoices get paid, and also providing financial support in any sort of projects that we're working on, not just in, obviously the financial aspect, as well as helping with any other aspects of it that I can.
Great, thanks.
That includes things like grants management and accounting for that, which is
Yes, correct.
yeah, right. Ramon, I think you were about to ask something as well, or is that right?
No, I said I could imagine, but clearly not in as much detail as Kathy just went into. So I appreciate it.
Lots of number crunching always, but but also a combination with, as you just pointed out, grant management, etc.
And I've met some of the others, so I think I know a little bit.
I'm losing track of people on the call here. There we go. Okay. Any other questions? Welcome aboard. Like I say, just thrilled to have you, and excited for the timing. Couldn't be better with Summer Climate Forward update imminent. So this is great. Okay, moving on then, I think, so first of all, thank you for joining and introducing yourself. If you'd like to drop off, feel free. And let's move on to, I guess, our subcommittee updates and discussions, although we'll call this part of the outreach committee, but this is really, we're going to spend some time talking about the plan update and the draft that was put out a month ago. And I think we asked the commissioners to do a little bit of homework and come back with a couple, what did we say, 1 to 3 either action items or things that you'd like to discuss about the plan. And Christine, if you wouldn't mind, I cannot use the chat to chat everybody. So if you wouldn't mind putting a link to the update into the chat for folks, that would be great.
Absolutely. And I can share my screen as well with the draft plan as we go. Oh, so the link is in the chat to the Summer Voice page, and then the link to the Google Doc that everybody can comment on is linked below it. And I will share my screen. And thank you to the folks who have commented already. This is great. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So,
oh, go ahead, Larry.
No, you go.
Oh, well, so as Larry mentioned, we have here our draft goals, strategies, and actions for Climate Forward. First, we have our definition of carbon net negative that the commission had previously advised on. For comment, the interim greenhouse gas goals for 2030, 40, and 50. And then it gets into the draft goals, strategies, and actions for each buildings and energy, transportation and mobility, natural resources and waste, community resilience and health, and the final category is leadership. So does any commissioners want to kick things off with their comments
I'd be happy to start with some of my thoughts. Overall, it's great to kind of see it coming together and how the work so far is leading into the strategies. I was excited to see that. I added my comments in the document, but I just wanted to focus on the three things that I thought were the most salient that I'd like to see added or changed. The biggest one to me that is really missing here is the impact of municipal buildings. So we talk about how buildings really hit the highest. I mean, we know that that's the case across the pie of carbon usage in general, but specifically in Somerville, given the makeup of our buildings and our uses, the things that happen here. And so we have the building and energy part. We talk about residential. We talk about commercial. We have leadership. We talk about working with infrastructure and asset management to help move them ahead. But we need like front and center here is leadership on municipal buildings, in my opinion, and I know others feel similarly. And specifically, there's I think general municipal buildings and there's school buildings is a huge opportunity here. And I think that right now the way in which school buildings and buildings in general are being addressed are piecemeal. We need to fix the City Hall's peeling. I agree. It looks horrible. We have to fix that. We're gonna have water infiltration. But when it comes to school buildings right now, the city's plan is to electrify the mechanical buildings, I mean the mechanical systems, and some of them are urgently needed. Great, electrification's great. However, if we just go ahead with electrification of systems without doing the actual envelope efficiency at the same time and sizing the systems, this is a horrible impact to the climate, because in order to make an electric building efficient, you need to make it as small as possible and make the building as leaky as possible. And in order to make it healthy, sorry, I know I'm not talking slowly for our note-taking purposes. I'll slow down a little. That I think I know that there's not an approach currently in infrastructure and asset management who oversees our building to be thinking about doing an energy audit of the whole building and thinking about how to do the systems in line with the entire envelope. And that needs to be something that this plan stresses. Otherwise, I think the whole effort is wasted, because we know that buildings are so huge. So I want to stress, I can't stress that enough. So that's my biggest point. And then two other comments. One, I think we should go a little bit further when we talk about having our buildings, sorry, I'm trying to think, benchmarking and being able to demonstrate landlords to say how energy efficient it is. There are some municipalities around the country and world that grade, and you walk by and kind of like you could see in a restaurant if it's what the sanitation grade is, it would be the same here. So I'd really like to see that. And then my third point is that we need tools to help both larger developers and small homeowners understand how to do a decarbonization and electrification, and also to work alongside other statewide initiatives for workforce development, because there are not enough contractors and engineers who know how to do this correctly today. And we're gonna come to a bottleneck with our approach, with our plans here if we don't do that. So those are my 3 points.
Does anyone want to drill down on any of the points that Courtney just raised?
I think the point, I mean, I think all were good points, but I think the point of it's not good enough to just electrify a building, but if you haven't done the homework, or you don't want to just electrify highly inefficient systems, so that doing the best job possible on weatherizing, energy efficiency, and so on means that it will be a lot less costly in the long run, and safer and fewer emissions and all of that. So I think that's a very good point. I agree with the other points as well, but especially things, I think there were a couple other points in the list that touched on this thing, the providing tools for the public, whether it's residents, small businesses, and so on, to become aware and make use of information that's useful to them to digest and apply the recommendations or the requirements from the Climate Forward Plan. We should just not assume that people will just gladly just read I don't know how many pages this is going to end up being, and then figure out immediately what to do about it and how to go about doing it. So I think the more resources can be provided to make it all easily understandable, accessible, and then the following step, which is if they have questions about how do I do this, what are my next steps, that there's a way, that there are mechanisms or links to other groups that can provide that information. So it doesn't just stay as like, we have this great plan. No, go do it.
I want to just add actually one more thing to one of the pieces that I said on the rating properties for energy efficiency. I was also recently talking with someone who's moved here from Germany, and he was shocked that the landlords and renters don't split utility costs, because that gives both sides an incentive to make, use less and then to make an efficient building. So I would love to see us pushing for that, to somehow create an incentive for that to be what the norm is here as well.
Any other follow-ups on Courtney's points? Who'd like to jump in next? Ramon, you already started. Would you like to jump in further?
Do you mind if I have to jump off?
Oh, good point. Yep.
Shortly. I don't know if I'm saving you, Ramon, or butting in on you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I had I guess 2 higher level and then one a little bit more detail to add. The NRW 1.1 is that's striking me as a bit passive. I would love to see something more active in the green infrastructure space. It's kind of increasing the capacity in line with the citywide mitigation plan, flood mitigation and water quality master plan. And I know it has the little mark there that's in line with another city plan. But I don't know if that, I'm not quite sure what that says, I guess. I mean, I guess, yes, the city is working toward that plan, and, the engineering department has, that plan laid out, but it seems like, something like integrating, making it a little more explicit and clear, integrating green stormwater infrastructure into stormwater projects, like prioritize, but what does that mean in practice, I guess? So this one's, just striking me as a little passive. I think it'd be great to also mention reducing combined sewer overflows, because that's another thing that Somerville has that green stormwater infrastructure can help with and is going to get worse from climate change. I'd love to see that owned in this report, as far as just the fact that I know it says water quality, but I think that's kind of a unique water quality issue that we could own. We didn't, start it, but here we are having to deal with it. So I think it'd be good to call it out. Like investigate a stormwater utility, again, it just seems so passive. Like, is it feasibility study and with intent to launch? I think also maybe, I don't know, just making it a little bit more, I know the point of the goal is like actions that are achievable, like a real action plan that we can act on in a shorter term. But I just don't want to have that be, you know, kind of prevent us from being ambitious too, I guess. And that's what my slightly concern on this one, that it just seems like it's sort of like, I don't know. Well, I think you got my point on that one. And then my other concern, maybe a little bit on the same vein, is when the person from the consulting team came and gave the presentation on flooding impact, the vulnerability findings and the flooding impacts. It was very alarming. And I don't quite see anything close to the level of any actions close to the level of addressing that. And on the regional front for the I think that there was some confusion at that meeting, and apologies if I missed follow-up. There was some confusion about exactly what was causing that you know, super severe flooding. But I think it was like 6 feet of water in Union Square or something like that is what it showed. And I'm not quite sure where here are the steps to get us to not have that happen. So it'd just be good, you know, not that we're gonna, again, short-term plan, not necessarily gonna solve it, but just, yeah, just didn't want it to fall off the table.
Really just noting, eliminate cities, combined sewer overflows are in the community resilience section, CR 1.3A.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, good. I'm sorry, I missed that. Oh, very happy. Very happy to see that.
But to another point that you made, you know, investigate a stormwater enterprise fund, I believe was also part of the first Solar Climate Forward plan 5 years ago. So yeah, you know, I guess I know this is just a summary table, but like what's changed now that we think it would be more likely to happen this time, and perhaps go beyond to investigate.
Yeah, sometimes just having it called out more concretely, I feel like can help with that kind of stuff.
And that's an example of what you mean by passive. Just like investigate doesn't seem to put a stake in the ground.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like is the action hire a consultant to do a feasibility study? Or is it, yeah, I don't know what the action might be. Is there some, like, I'm not sure, is there already some work done that maybe just needs to be picked up and pursued? With that one, yeah, just a little unclear.
Thank you for that feedback. And I agree with you on the you know, points about wanting to make sure that we are sufficiently addressing the vulnerability assessment. I just want to call out the pieces that we do have in here for it, and just to get your take if there's something else that you would suggest. One of the things we have is partner with 1 to 2 social infrastructure institutions identified as vulnerable through the vulnerability assessment to implement resilience upgrades.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on, I guess, and maybe I don't know. Is that like,
what does that
be
mean?
site specific? I guess that's how I was reading that, but maybe I'm not didn't understand that one.
Yeah, the way that I understood it from the consultants is that it would be targeted. It would be a couple institutions, and we figure out ways to partner with them and help them to be more resilient. So, you know, for like, and the social infrastructure piece could be like a healthcare facility, or like, our essential businesses, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. And always lessons learned from those kind of things. Absolutely. And starting on the ground is good because you learn so much and can scale it up. I think what I wasn't like totally clear on is if a neighborhood is going to be fully underwater, like what is the and there's the one, mentioning retreat, maybe initiate discussion on retreat. Maybe that's part of that response. Like I said, the participating in the regional stuff. Maybe that some of that would fall under that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Super. Any other follow-up questions for Julie or follow up on the points that she raised?
No, this is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Super helpful. I'm not going to put Ramon on the spot.
No, I'll just comment. I mean, I had the unfortunate situation of a lot of my time in the last few weeks getting diverted in an unplanned way to other things that needed attention. I did manage to start read through this, which, overall, I thought it was valuable. I meant to have a chance to go through it in a more slow pace to do precisely what things like Courtney and Julie were doing, which is to identify things that could be a little bit more precise and more explicit. I had noticed some of the things that Courtney had begun to put in at that point, which I agreed. And I also did notice that something that I had been a concern of mine was in there, which is, I forget the number, the one about public bus and transportation stops providing for heat / other shelter, which from observation, I felt like it was a pretty urgent thing. And the hot weather in the summer, I've seen older folks with children sitting in metal benches, suffering through a lot of heat, and it seemed at odds with the vision of providing some relief. So I was glad to see something in there. Exactly, I'm seeing it now there. For the rest, I'm going to have to do a second reading and then hopefully add some comments. But I wish I had the ability to do it now for broader discussion. So I apologize for that.
No worries, Ramon. Alexis, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to review this as well, and it's okay if you haven't. I know I'm not sure when the materials went out.
So I haven't had a chance to review it in detail, but just quickly skimming it, I think two of the pieces that I might note that might be missing are an assessment of current grid investments throughout the city. I think we can have a lot of great policies and plans around electrification, but I know from firsthand experience, colleagues of mine in other communities are experiencing this where they're making investments in things like ground source heat pumps, but the grid capacity isn't there for them to actually do it. So all of those other things can line up, but not necessarily having all that. Okay, great. I see that. That's great. So just understanding where those investments are being made, and then certainly advocating that those investments are being made, in sort of our environmental justice neighborhoods and benefiting communities and other community assets, making sure that they have sort of that priority. And then this might be in here as well, but I wasn't sure if I saw it, but potentially adding additional municipal staff capacity to respond to state and federal funding opportunities. a lot of the things that we have listed here are going to cost a lot of money. So making sure that there is someone, or at least responsibility assigned to someone already to pursue these opportunities and other technical assistance support that's being offered.
Super helpful.
Alexis, at the beginning when you said that perhaps missing were current investments, and you used a word, I forget what the word you used to refer to the whole thing that you described after that. What was, do you remember?
I may not repeat it exactly, but I was talking about grid investments.
Grid.
And so understanding like where there is capacity to electrify parts of our community and where additional investments will have to be made. So I think it really requires municipal coordination with the utility, just because individual, businesses and homeowners and residents are not necessarily going to have the knowledge, expertise, capacity, or power to effectively advocate.
Any follow-ups on those points?
It is a hot topic in our department. Thank you for bringing it up here.
The grid part or the municipal staff part?
Both, and update on municipal staff coming tonight.
Yeah,
but
got it.
but the grid one, definitely.
Yeah. I suppose that leaves me, huh? So I just want to acknowledge, I mean, there's a lot in here, and it's really exciting to see the breadth of coverage for a lot of these actions. I'm excited by a lot of them. Some of them like feel like kind of table stakes, like hire a recycling coordinator, but others I think like stretched a little bit. So suggesting a deconstruction ordinance, for example, I thought was super exciting, and some of the stuff around embodied carbon in buildings I'd like to see. So just acknowledging the breadth here and the scope of some of these things. I do take Julie's point that some of them are a little I guess she called it passive, and we can sharpen that a little bit. Around the specific bullets, like I could probably spend an hour talking about each one of them, and so I probably don't want to bore anybody with that. But I am curious about a couple things that didn't show up really, and there may be kind of cross-cutting things. The first is I suppose how again, I know this is just a summary table, so there will be quite a bit of more depth around all of these points. But I'm curious how we intend to express how equity will show up in the action plan overall, and as well as in specific points, because there are some of these that are where it's important to consider equity from the outset. And then another one I think related in terms of being cross-cutting is whether we will have a better, I guess, a more granular sense of time scales and milestones along the way for either the actions or the strategies. I can't remember the levels now. But just getting a sense for that, getting a sense for how both of those things will show up in how these are all implemented. Again, recognizing this is a summary table.
Yeah, those were really good points. Thank you. I will share this back with Emily. Well, the consultants and Emily have access to this, so we'll make sure that all of these comments get passed to them. And I think the sense of timescales is coming up with the final draft version, so we'll make sure to send that around.
The only other comment that I had, it's along the lines of one I made earlier with one of Courtney's points, but I think when I read through it, I think there were more than one items where things that have to do with impacts or actions that either involve or affect whatever residents, small businesses, whatever. Large organizations have the staffing and the resources to take on something new that is not part of their agenda and just handle it in some fashion and tap into other resources if they need to. Small businesses, residents largely don't, and so it creates a bifurcation of like some might be highly interested and might find a way to get someone to help them sort it out, but many of them that might just mean nice work. I'll see what other people do and wave from a distance because I just can't get around to it. So I think wherever possible, both in terms of dissemination of information, especially information that's helpful in taking steps that someone without time and resources would get them off the perplexity stage, like, this sounds interesting, but I don't know how to take step 1 or 2, or even who can help with this. So I think the more proactive, anticipatory material there is saying, we know you might need this help, and here's the beginnings of where you can find that help, either by us or who else you can contact. I don't know. There are a number of ways to address that, but I think going through it on anything that has that dimension, I think would be good to reinforce that.
I want to build off of that if I can. It made me think of how doing that with all of the different departments within the city, coordinated with these goals being everybody's goals, not just OSC's goals, would be really key. The state, Governor Healy created a climate chief for the first time, and I was recently presenting at a affordable housing conference about decarbonizing and electrifying our housing. And for the first time in the 20 years they've been doing this work, there were people from every department that touch housing within the state there talking about how they're collaborating together. And I'm hearing the climate chiefs telling the housing department how their goals need to be, the climate goals need to be included in their work. Their energy resources, DOER, they're telling that. So like mass housing and the climate bank. I really think on the leadership side here, that this needs to be clear that this plan isn't something that's a project of OSC, it's a project of the entire city and needs to be an interactive collaboration in order to make this work.
Yeah, I love that, Courtney. I'd be curious to hear what kinds of engagement so far in the development of this plan, of the draft plan, other departments have had.
Yeah, thank you. So departments have been involved since even like the beginnings, way before the draft was ever created. So we did a pathway analysis that they were all a part of, and we did a gap analysis where we, I think somebody mentioned earlier, identified what has and hasn't been done since the first climate forward plan. And they also provided input on all or given the opportunity to provide input on all like draft materials, so the vulnerability assessment, and they've also looked at these draft goals, strategies, and actions. I think that was back in October. So and it was released publicly later in November. So we're having ongoing conversations about it, and for the first time, the Office of Sustainability and Environment is going to be included in our capital improvement planning process. And we're going to be launching some task forces for interdepartmental staff so that we can gather all of the decision makers into the room periodically to align on our priorities and make sure that our Courtney's point that the projects are moving forward.
Awesome, thank you.
Can I ask, oh, sorry, go ahead, Larry.
No, I was just gonna put out there, that if any participant wants to, well, has any input as well or feedback as well, to raise your hand and we can try to loop you in, but while y'all are thinking, go ahead.
Just one question before that, and this is for Alexis. Are you able to share? I think you mentioned there are some other municipalities that are dealing with the distribution system gap. Are you able to name them?
I know the sort of personal example that I named was in Acton. And this was a development that was only developed maybe 20 years ago. And so they're dealing with, for the residents that are participating in sort of this community scale installation, they're having to upgrade their electrical panels from 100 amps to 200 amps, and then also trying to coordinate with their utility there to see if they can get the necessary distribution system upgrade so they can do it. And it's been a long back and forth, but it sounds like their project is moving forward. But there was a question of sort of who has sort of power and knowledge and expertise to be able to advocate on behalf. And even in this community that was willing to pay for those upgrades, it was still even difficult then. And we may not necessarily have that in all instances too.
Great. Thank you so much. That's really interesting.
And before we go to participants, Christine, and actually all of OSC staff, sort of curious how we've given some very top level comments here. Just sort of curious how you think we may be, how the commission may be helpful, in the next, between now and the next meeting, let's just say, or into the next meeting. Would it be helpful to drill down into a category? Would it be helpful to spin up a subcommittee to start looking at some things? Is it, what are the different kinds of things where we can be helpful?
That's a great idea. Yeah, I think if anybody on the commission is interested in doing a subcommittee and doing more of a deep dive into this, maybe with myself, maybe with Emily, the project manager, I think that would be awesome. And then of course, beyond that, if anybody has any thoughts, if you have suggestions for new language, we talked a lot about the actions, but we didn't talk too much about the goals and the strategies themselves. So if there's any other comments related to that too, send anything our way. More than happy to take any feedback. And please share out on social. Naomi is posting this online. So, you share it with your networks. We want to get as many comments in this document as we can.
Okay, great. So perhaps later in the meeting, we'll quickly talk about whether we should, if we were to spin up a subcommittee, who would like to join that. Alexis, I see your hand raised.
I had a couple other thoughts, and I don't have commenting abilities yet, but just echoing the comment earlier that was made about coordination among different municipal departments. I think definitely including inspectional services as a part of those conversations. I think there are a lot of permitting challenges that different households and businesses face when it comes to, implementing energy efficiency and other sort of sustainability, climate focused projects at their properties. And so understanding what some of those challenges are, if there's a way to, for example, streamline the permitting process for projects that achieve some of the climate goals that have been set out, or if there's, additional support and sort of technical assistance that can be offered to people that are pursuing those types of projects. And then also, to the point about establishing the rental licensing program, curious to know what are some of the, for example, common code violations. I think that's often one of the reasons why landlords don't move to pursue energy efficiency, because it requires permitted work. Someone then comes, does an inspection, and then they may notice other problems. And so Is there a way to do that in a way that is friendly and encourages people to actually do those projects in a way that's not going to be punitive? And then also investigating too what properties may be impacted by municipal liens. For example, if there are unpaid bills in some communities, households or contractors can't pull permits for those properties. And so even if that, business or household is able to get energy efficiency services at no cost or heavily discounted, until they address that lien, they're unable to access those services. And so that's been a common issue that I've seen in other communities and may be prevalent in Somerville as well.
That's a great.
Yeah, excellent. Any quick follow-up on that?
No, thank you. That's so helpful. I'm not totally sure what's up with the comments. I think that you might need to make an account with Summer Voice before you're able to comment, but I'm not totally sure. But I'll just flag that I'll talk with Elise Emily, and figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, or it could be you need to be logged into a Google account. That may.
That's true.
So
that's true. Yeah, and there is a comment for anybody with general comments. That link that I sent that goes to the Summer Voice page. There is a space to comment under that under the draft goals, strategies, and actions topic.
Super. Ramon, go ahead, and then we're gonna ask Ron to speak, and then Tom.
Yes, and I just saw the clock and I noticed it's 7:59, I believe. So given that I have a draft of the agenda, I see lots of points ahead of us. It's beginning to seem like, other than reading them, we need to think what will be able to fit in the time left. I'll let somebody decide that, but I was looking at the clock and the long list of 8-10 additional items on the list. So
yeah, thank you. Some of them are just reading off with an update, but yes, that's thank you for nudging me. Ron, would you like to say something?
Yes, I would like to say something, and I've said these things before. I was a former developer in the city of Somerville. I'm a long-term resident, and I'm a significant property owner in this city. And I would never, ever develop in this city again. And I estimate that my development efforts have added probably somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million to the tax rolls. And as I've said previously, I've converted crack houses in this city to condominiums that are profitable and wonderful. And I've cleaned up 2 brownfields in this city. And the reason I would never develop in this city is because it has created the most toxic development environment, I think, of any neighboring city. The threat of rent control, the strictest, and I think unconstitutional condominium ordinance, historic commission, which is really an anti-gentrification, anti-development commission, and kills project after project. Where is the incentive to develop in this city? Yes, there's a lot of large-scale institutional development going on. Small development is pretty much at a halt. I know all the local banks, they do not want to loan to this city because of the environment that is created. The contractors do not want to pull permits in this city because of the red tape and the obnoxious policies of this city. I just needed a chimney repair permit. It took me 3.5 months and maybe 50 phone calls to get a permit for a chimney repair. And yet you folks want to see the city electrified when everything is about disincentives and not incentives. I don't get it. And I am pro electrification. I'm a developer that pretty much exclusively builds all electric, solar powered structures. I specialize in rental housing. I'm a high net worth person. I'm a successful person. I shake my head and say, how are these goals at all possible, given this environment? And I feel like I'm a lone voice saying the same thing over and over again. Incentives work, disincentives do not work. This city has done a great job of creating disincentives. As a landlord, the threat of rent control means an automatic 20% reduction in property values. We have one of the highest water bills, one of the highest sewer bills of any neighboring community. We have some of the highest insurance costs, and yet we have perhaps one of the worst infrastructures of any city. And we have values that are lower than any adjoining city. Cross the border and go to Arlington or Cambridge and see how different and better it is. There's all kinds of development going on. All small development is essentially at a halt, and this is provable. This is observable. You can see the number of permits. You can see the number of condo conversions every single month, and you can see how little is before the Historic Commission. And
Thank you, Ron. You have brought this to us before, and I'm curious because you asked before, what are the types of incentives that you're talking about that we could work into this plan that would be helpful for you?
Well, not for me. I won't develop in this city. But the simple principle is as follows. Incentives work, disincentives don't work. Where are the incentives here? Where are the incentives? Ask yourself that question. Where are the incentives? Where are the incentives to take a derelict building, an aged two-family house with this condominium ordinance and gut that building and bring it out electrified? Where are the incentives? You realize the cost to do so? You realize the paperwork and the amount of effort to get a permit in this city? You realize what the energy code, and I'm for it to a degree, means in terms of cost per square foot? The numbers don't work. The numbers have to work. As far as if you're asking me to answer the solution, come up with the solution to this problem, it means completely restructuring the city and the way it views the real estate in this city. It means letting go of the anti-gentrification policy in this city. It means reducing the tax base, which in my mind means bringing a halt to affordable housing. And my response about affordable housing is there's more affordable housing per capita in this city than any city in the state. We've satisfied our moral requirement. It's time to look at ways to reduce housing costs for homeowners, to create incentives to do these things. None of those things are in place. And without them, you have to look at a city holistically. Without those incentives, you will never reach these goals. It makes no economic sense in this
Your Honor,
environment.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I mean, obviously, some of those things are a little bit beyond the remit of this commission. However, I do take your point about taking a holistic look. So
I think it's
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think it's the responsibility of this commission to bring these things to the attention of this city. I think the things that I'm saying are the basis of the problems in this city.
Fair enough. Thank you. Can we move to Tom, please?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll try to make this quick because I know you have a lot to do. First, I just want to thank everyone for their work on this incredibly difficult problem, but probably the most important work that any of us can do in our lifetimes, particularly when scientists that I teach at a university, tell us that the consumptions of 1.2 average Americans will displace one person in the future out of the environment where they can actually have a livable and thriving life. So the actions of each of us in the United States actually does determine the future of possible lives. I want to just quickly underline what Chair Yu said about putting equity in this. It seems to me that one of the things that's most missing in the plan is just a really firm statement of something I know you're all committed to, which is racial, economic, gender, and labor justice. And I think in order to get buy-in into the plan and really think about how it's going to get rolled out and adopted by people, centering that statement from at the top of your draft plan, I think will be crucial to making that happen. The part that's missing is how do we get community leaders neighborhood leaders to really model the actions that will need to happen so that other people will also adopt them. And I think really by centering that and also making sure that we bring in labor unions. I work with Somerville Stands Together. That's a very crucial point for them. I also really agree with the point that was made by Commissioner Kozlow about municipal buildings and public schools. And it seems like that could really be just stated as one of the sectors at the top of this plan under the interim greenhouse goals. It's sort of surprising that's not listed to me there as one of the sectors to really be involved with. I also just also want to ask, because like other people here, we're all involved with a number of volunteer groups. If you would just let us know how we can support you in rolling out this plan, we'd be most happy to do so. So thanks again to everyone.
Thank you, Tom. Hey, would you mind, you mentioned something between the union groups and your final point, and I missed it. Something you said you were surprised it wasn't in here.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. No, just that I think in order to signal the commitment to the leadership around municipal buildings and public schools, that's in your leadership section. But if it was also at the top of the document under the interim goals for specific sectors, if that was listed as one of the sectors, I think that would just really visibilize and reassure people who are working on that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned it. So the reason why it's not included there is because it was a part of our most recent the first climate forward plan to make those interim or to make like a trajectory for municipal buildings, but we have not completed that task yet. So to release this, we left it blank. But I do think that, but yes, something will be there for the city, definitely.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Really appreciate those comments. And you know, for what it's worth, my approach to communications is often including the failings that may have happened between you know, in this case between 2018 and this plan. So like to me it's a mark of courage just to be able to say, like, yes, we targeted to do this, we weren't able to do this, here are the things that we're changing in order to do it in the future, right? So like I appreciate those kinds of things when they show up. But let's move on in our agenda, so that Ramon doesn't wag his finger at me again. Moving on to the policy subcommittee, which essentially will just be, I guess, an update on the fossil fuel free ordinance and zoning.
Sure. So the last commission meeting, the commission voted to send a letter of support with the fossil fuel free application for the city of Somerville. This is for attendees. This is the program that the state is offering to 10 municipalities to be the first ones in the state to be able to restrict and prohibit the use of fossil fuels in new construction and major renovation. So we did lots of stakeholder outreach. We passed an ordinance the following evening after our last commission meeting, and the letter along with the ordinance and our full 79-page application was sent to the state. It's now posted on their website, and you can see all of the letters of support there. I think we have 20 of them. Northampton is the other community that applied for the program, so it's just us two. And yeah, I just want to give my sincere gratitude and thanks for all of the support from the commission on the application. I know we talked a lot about the program and took a lot of time over the past several months. So So really appreciate it. Thank you. And the other item here is so for in addition to the ordinance, something that a developer had brought to our attention is that we can get a creative to Ron's point with the incentives, particularly around the issue that Alexis had mentioned with the gap in the distribution system. So essentially, we have an issue where, as Alexis I think really perfectly described, we want to electrify and we have control over what we can do behind the meter, like in our own homes, or in businesses. But the Eversource does not have a mechanism, oftentimes, when you have a building with 3 or more units in it, to get that electric power into the household. So a transformer is needed, and that's needed whether you're doing geothermal, a water source heat pump, an air source heat pump, if you're going to be using a certain amount of electricity. So their recommendation was to talk with developers and stakeholders in the community to figure out how we can add something to our zoning ordinance that would encourage developers to install these transformers and allow other folks to hook into them. So if you oversize a transformer, you can have other folks, like when they're ready, get power from them. And it's a really interesting concept. We have yet to pilot it, but it's something that we're really interested in. And beyond that, we're just interested in seeing how we can incorporate incentives for developers for electrification into the zoning ordinance more. So that's something that we'll be working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I'm just going to roll into the next item and then we can pause if we need to. But I think we were going to talk about the current projects going on around buildings. I think you all have a few, so sorry to cut short some time here, but I think we can still cover this.
No, thank you. And thank you to Julia and Elise for being so patient tonight. The floor is yours. So Julia is going to be talking about a couple different grant projects that she's working on, which are really exciting and directly relate to the items in the Climate Forward update. And then Elise is going to be talking about her projects and this technical assistance grant to hope to solicit some ideas for that from this group.
Great. Thank you for that, Christine. I'll get started on the projects that I will be talking about. So I originally put together a little presentation to share with you guys, but just because of time's sake, I'm going to disregard that presentation and give you the verbal Reader's Digest version. That way we have enough time for Elise for her updates as well. So the first project is a really exciting possible grant program that we are trying to initiate. That would be through ARPA funding from the state that the city now has, and they're divvying out to different projects based off of city needs and also feasibility of projects. So this would be a $1.2 million pilot program that we're calling right now the Home Improvement Program, that will enable owners of residential rental property in Somerville to be able to apply for funds to make home improvements, with the focus of these improvements being on building retrofits, energy efficiency work, rehabilitation, and other work to get it up to energy and sanitary code. So the minimum amount of funding that a program participant would be able to receive would be $25,000, just to make sure that it's being used effectively, and then each unit would be able to receive up to $50,000. So this funding will have an application process for it, and it will be done on a first come first served basis. However, it will only be opened to residences that are located in qualified income tracts for the beginning of the portion of the program. And then halfway through, we would open that up to environmental justice neighborhoods. And then if needed, that funding would be released citywide. Again, if needed, just to make sure funds are being spent, given that it is ARPA funding, funds do need to be spent by August of 2024. We need to have that stuff contracted, and then funds would have to be spent by 2025. So there is a little bit of a time crunch on just making sure everything is done and getting planned accordingly. The other really cool aspect of this program is that there would be a requirement for participating property owners to not raise rents over 3% for a 10-year period. That way, we are able to make sure that residents who are living are actually getting the economic benefit and not having raised rents, and they're feeling those lower energy costs through these upgrades.
That sounds great. Could I ask a quick question? Did you say
Absolutely.
it's only for rental apartments, and is it a loan or a grant?
So it's only for rental, and it will be a reimbursement program. And so they will have to, spend the actual money, and then we will be reimbursing up to $50,000.
Great.
Yeah, and so the aim is to have a vetted list of contractors that program participants will be able to choose from. And again, it will be rolling, first come, first served, first. You know what I'm trying to say? It'll be on a rolling basis. Can't speak right now, clearly. Too late for coffee though. So aside from that, I think that is the Reader's Digest version of where we are at. We're in the planning process. Like I said, we are still waiting for that funding and the program to be approved by the ARPA team, but we are plugging along, assuming that we will get that funding. That way, once we get the word, we'll be able to, have our T's crossed, I's dotted, and go forward without any hiccups in the timeline. The other two projects, well, before I go on, any questions regarding the ARPA grants? Awesome. Oh, sorry. Okay. The next one, next two things are there are two separate state earmarks that OSC is going to be receiving from the state. So very exciting. The first earmark is $100,000 to fund $100,000 in funding to support the study of energy efficiency opportunities in moderate and low income households. And so the city will be working with the contractor. Right now, we're going to be working with the Somerville Housing Authority Somerville Housing Authority and Somerville Community Corporation to assess affordable housing and to support all the weatherization and energy efficiency needs in these properties. Sorry, I can't speak again right now. We have the MOU drafted between us and these two different entities that's going through legal right now, and all necessary forms have been submitted to the state. And so we're just waiting for that money to be allocated so we can start the process. And then once that MOU gets approved, we can carry on. And then
how much did you say it was?
$100,000. And then this last earmark is another $100,000, so the same amount. Only this one is not for funding to support that study, but it is instead to conduct focus groups and a feasibility study around what rental registry or any sort of energy retrofitting, energy disclosure could look like in the city. And so for that, we are planning on working with CBI, one of the consultants that the city does work with. And we are, again, all set to start with them. We're working on putting together possible focus groups, different community groups that should be engaged, and just getting everything positioned for once the money hits our bank accounts so that we can go.
Could you just go back to the beginning of that latter point, the other 100,000 for focus groups and feasibility study, and
Absolutely.
I forgot the short description of the initiative.
Absolutely. $100,000 in funding to conduct focus groups and a feasibility study related to a rental registry in the city of Somerville.
I see.
That is super exciting. That's my favorite piece so far. No, they're all my favorite pieces. But do you know whom we're bringing in for the focus groups? Has that been sort of identified? At least
so that is in development, and I actually have a meeting with the consultants on Friday to kind of discuss that in a little bit more detail. But we're thinking broadly, I mean, first of all, if you guys have any recommendations, you know a lot of the different groups in Somerville and you're very tuned in. So I would love to hear from you guys if there are community groups that you really think we should be engaging with. But as of right now, really just focusing on a lot of the affordable housing, not affordable housing, I'm sorry, the rental communities, working with, I don't have my list in front of me right now, so I'm trying to just spitball it off the top of my head and I'm having difficulty
It's okay.
remembering, but I can email you the list after the call if that's helpful for you, Chair Yu.
Yeah, no, that's also, I don't necessarily need to see the list. I was just kind of curious, but although feel free to send the your presentation around to the
Absolutely
to the group.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind is, and I'm not familiar with the effort or that kind of initiative, but to the degree that any other cities or municipalities have done anything like this, to really gauge and study what worked, what didn't work as expected, but could be done differently. You know, just to, I mean, if we don't leverage hard-earned experience from other municipalities, it ends up wasting really a little bit of the funding opportunity. So I think that's what I would recommend, that it include a little, and I don't know what organizations to tap into to identify who those are, you know, how to go about doing that, but I'm sure there are good contacts and resources for that. But I think that's about, you know, to have a quick summary of what has been done that was successful and what wasn't, and why not, and what will be the recommended improvements and that sort of thing.
Yes, the good
That's
news
good.
is we did that, which is the good news. So this is the last thing that we're doing before we finalize an ordinance that is for hopefully for adoption, and then we can finally have a rental registry, which will be awesome.
Christine's being modest, but she studied this in depth when she's with housing, right? So yeah, so super exciting. And thank you for speaking so quickly. And my apologies for not recognizing that should have been lifted higher in the agenda.
No worries at all.
Who's next? Was it Elise?
I believe so.
I think so. Julia, thank you for your brevity. I appreciate it.
I'll talk fast any day of the week. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying, Ramon, if you need my notes for your notes, I can send them to you after this meeting if I talk
Thank
to you. But so one of the things I've worked on, which I'm really excited for and hope works out for us, is a grant for an energy advisor staff person on OSE. So OSE, in conjunction with our grants department, applied for the Mass Clean Energy Center, so Mass CEC Empower program, which is offering implementation grants of up to $300,000 for this work. Our full application was for just about $240,000. And should we receive this funding, which I'm hoping we'll find out within a couple weeks, OSE would hire a full-time energy advisor as a 2-year pilot program. This person would educate households about energy efficiency retrofits in rental housing. And ideally, this program is successful, and then we can hire on a person in this position, you know, full-time, not as a pilot program. So should we receive the full amount of funding, our goal is to educate property owners and tenants about air source heat pump technology, insulation, electrical panel upgrades, and other retrofit solutions, as well as state incentives through Mass Save. We'd also help households plan for and undertake energy upgrades. And then the most exciting part to me of this potential grant we could receive is that they included an opportunity to apply for funds for capital improvements, which means that we are able to set up a micro grant like program for participants in this. So we would be able to distribute $2,000 reimbursement-based micro grants to 25 households to help them implement the retrofit projects that the energy advisor helped them work through. We're going to conduct an outreach campaign to publicize the program via social media posts, a mailer, flyers, in-person tabling at community events and locations. And other programs and opportunities. We also have CAS and Mothers Out Front as our community partners to help us connect with folks in the community who this may be useful for. This program through Mass CEC is supposed to target renters, owners of rental units, folks living in environmental justice communities, and folks who are at 80% or below of the area median income. This is sort of a tiered grant opportunity where they asked us to provide a funding proposal for $150,000 or less. So should we not receive the fully requested $240,000 or so dollars, there's a chance that we may receive approximately $150,000, which would allow us to achieve half of our goals. So half of the grants, half of the households hope that we hope that we could help with a part-time energy advisor instead of a full-time energy advisor. And so does anyone have any quick questions about that? I know we're low on time.
That's awesome. Does this fulfill do you envision this fulfilling the energy coaching program that's identified in the Climate Forward draft plan, or is this sort of adjacent to it?
I think both. I think this is like something that Climate Forward is working towards, and then we just happen to have this grant opportunity at the same time. And so I think it can help achieve that goal for sure.
Got it.
I'm not sure if I have enough time to talk about ACEEE with the 2 minutes we have left.
I'm going to take the temperature here for commissioners to stay a little bit longer to hear about the ACEEE technical assistance grant. And it may be that we have a hard stop, but just sort of curious what others think.
I do have a hard stop at 8:30.
Okay.
I'm a little flexible, but within bounds.
Okay, maybe you can
That's all
tease
right.
it for 60 seconds so we know what to expect, and we can find some other way to provide some input.
Sure. So this is an opportunity through the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, where they're offering no-cost technical assistance services for up to 10 local governments and community-based organizations to help tackle the challenge of reducing energy waste in rental households. You need a community-based organization partner, and applications are due January 5th. So this may be something that we're sending out an email to folks soliciting ideas from commission members. But Cambridge recently received funding through this program. So presumably we have an opportunity as well if we can come up with a sort of well fleshed out idea with community partners.
Yeah, my fault for not lifting this higher. This seems like there's a little bit of urgency to this one. So yes, please, if you could put it in an email for Christine, and we'll find a way to provide input in a meaningful way. That would be amazing. Do you know who the community-based organization partner was in Cambridge?
I would have to look. I'm not sure. I don't know if
Yeah.
It was all in energy.
All in. Okay. Thank you. Amazing. It is 8:30, so apologies. We did not get to the minutes. Let's defer that to next meeting and approve the 2 minutes unless, I don't know. How hard is your hard stop, Courtney? Do you have 60 seconds to?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll just skip ahead to the reviewing the minutes. Does anyone need time to review the minutes? Ramon, Courtney. Oh, it's sorry. I think it's just Ramon and Christine and me for voting.
Yes. Yeah.
I've read them. I'm okay.
Okay. Would anyone like to?
Oh, I have to, I forgot to add Carrie's last name, so if we can approve it with that one edit, that would be great.
Would you like to make the motion, Director Blaze?
I'd like to make a motion to approve. I've never made a motion before in this commission. I'd like to make a motion to approve the November 2023 minutes for the commission.
With the with the
Oh,
edit.
with the addition. Yes, with the addition of adding Carrie's last name.
Ramon, would you like to second?
Yes.
All in favor, just raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that. And apologies for cutting this.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Larry. Sorry, we do have one more question in the chat. Is that
yes.
okay?
Yeah, go for it. If you have an answer, yeah, that'd be great. Sorry about that.
Sure. It's is OSE planning to apply for the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant to get additional federal funding for building decarbonization initiatives and demonstration projects like the ones being described and the ones mentioned in the draft plan, like network geothermal? Seems like this would be a good additional resource of funding to bolster these programs. Yes, definitely. So the state of Massachusetts is coordinating a group application to this program for I think around $200 million. So we're providing our input through the state. They have like coordinated periodic meetings and surveys that go out about it. So we are a part of that, and we also applied for the HEAT. If you're familiar with the HEET organization, we applied for their I think it was an RFA on network geothermal a couple weeks ago. So we should find out about that early 2024.
Amazing.
Thank you. And yeah, does anybody have any other questions about the policy piece or the or the buildings piece that we just talked about? Okay, cool.
I don't see that question on the chat. I'll need some notes from you on that last.
I just cleared it. If you click the Q&A button, it should show up under answered.
I copy and pasted it. I'm just going to throw it in the panelists and host chat for accessibility. Should pop up for you right now.
Okay.
I will not adjourn the meeting so Ramon can copy and paste.
Yes, but I might need Christine's response, but I'll follow up with you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I got you, Ramon. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you all for speaking so quickly. I botched the agenda, my fault.
No.
And I appreciate you.
Likewise.
Thank you all. All right.
Thank you all.
And welcome,
Adjourn at
Kathy.
8:34. Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Julia.
Happy holidays,
and Alexis
Happy holidays
as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Thanks, Alexis. Bye, everybody.